Hey guys, and welcome to another episode. Today in this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your spark plugs in your car. Now my car right now has just turned over 100,000 miles or 160,000 kilometers. And this is the interval where I need to replace my spark plugs. I already replaced them once, and this is where I need to replace them again. So today in this video, I'm going to show you how to take off the cover, take the plugs out, replace the spark plugs, torque them up properly, put it all back together so that your ignition system is going to be well maintained. So this right here is the end part of the ignition system. So if you guys saw in a previous video, I showed you guys how to replace a distributor on the Volkswagen Golf. And that is essentially connected up before the plug. So on my little brother's car, he has spark plugs like this, just like I do. But instead of having plugs like this that go from the wire right here up to the spark plug, he has spark plug wires. So it's a little different system. However, this is a little bit different in the fact that this does not need to be replaced. The only time this needs to be replaced is when it's damaged. The spark plug wires, if you were to change your spark plugs, you should be replacing them with them. So if my little brother was to do his spark plugs on his car, he'd be replacing the spark plugs and the wires that it attaches to. However, for my car, it's a different setup, and all that we're going to be replacing is this little spark plug right here. So today I'm going to be replacing the spark plugs in my car with NGK laser iridium spark plugs. You can go with the nice ones, like that I have right here, that I'm going to be putting in the car, or if you want, you can go with the regular economy ones. They're both going to do the same thing. However, the laser iridium ones, they're going to give you a better spark. So just for reference, these ones cost about $15 each, where the economy ones cost about $5 each. So it all depends on what you want to do and what you want to use your car for, but I'm going to be opting for the nice ones. So on top of the engine, we're going to have a cover right here that's covering up each one of the plugs and spark plugs. So to get it off, you're going to have to remove the 4 little screws that are securing it in. You're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. Just simply unscrew them. Save them because we're going to need them when we put this back on. So just take all 4 of them out and then remove the cover out of the way. And as you can see, it exposes the goodies back here. So we've got the wiring harness that goes to the plug that is connected to the spark plug down inside the engine. So we're going to start off by removing the pigtail wire right here that goes directly over the coil of the plug. So just slide that off like that, and then we're going to be removing this 10mm screw that's securing it in place. So that's all that's holding it in, and then at that point you can take the coil over the plug out like that. And there you are. So we don't have the spark plug attached on here. So it's right now it's threaded into the head of the engine, and we need to remove that using a special spark plug socket. So this right here is a 5/8 spark plug socket, and it looks very similar to a regular socket. However, inside of there's like a little rubber part that's going to secure the end of the spark plug in. So this end of the spark plug right here is going to fit inside the spark plug socket like that, and it's going to hold it in place. So once I loosen it out, I can pull it out like that. So I'm going to be attaching this onto my ratchet, and I'm going to be removing all 4 of my spark plugs. I have 1 of them here, so I just have 3 left inside the engine. So on top of the head, you're going to slide the spark plug socket and an extension down in there, and you're just going to remove and loosen off the spark plug. So once you have it essentially loose, you should be able to just spin it out. And you should be able to remove the extension, the socket, and the spark plug all in one shot. And now we can slide it out. And there is another one of the spark plugs. So once you remove all 4 of your spark plugs, you can take a closer look and inspect to see if they need to really be changed or not. So over time, the distance in between both the outer and the inner electrodes, that gap will increase. So if the gap is too big, you'll have to replace it with a new one. So if you can tell right here on the first spark plug, you can see that we've got a brand new one on the right, and we have an old one on the left. Now the gap between the inside, so like this part and that part of the spark plug, if that gap gets too big, what will happen is your ignition system is going to have a more difficult time to create a spark. If the gap gets too big, you could be losing horsepower. So that's why changing them every once in a while is going to be doing your engine some justice. So just looking at this spark plug right here on the left, you can see that it's slightly worn out. And if you look at the new one on the right, you'll be able to see that it's slightly larger and the gap isn't as big. So the larger the gap, the less horsepower your car's gonna be making and more of a strain you're gonna be putting on your ignition system to create power. So if you replace them with new spark plugs, you're gonna be in the clear. So just for reference, if you guys are gonna be doing a spark plug change on your car, make sure that you get the proper torque figures and make sure you get the proper procedure down so you install the spark plugs correctly onto the head without damaging anything. So for my car, it says that I need to apply a small amount of anti-seize and then torque each one of the spark plugs up to 13 foot-pounds of torque. Then after that, I'm gonna be installing my ignition coils back onto the car. So let's get right into that. So right here I have some 3M copper anti-seize, and this is what I use for brakes, and it does a very good job at other stuff, just like putting anti-seize on my spark plugs. So I'm gonna open this up, and I'm only gonna be putting on a tiny bit of product. You don't want a lot, you just wanna make sure that it's, you know, lightly coated with it. So once you have a little bit on there, you just go ahead and just push it into the threads. You don't want a ton, you just want enough so that it's slightly lubricated. So put it into the threads like that. And now at this point, I'm gonna install this back into the block, or into the head. So I'm gonna put it back on into my spark plug socket, and then by hand, I'm just gonna thread it in. So you're just gonna thread this on until it gets completely tight by hand, and then I'm gonna break out my torque wrench. So next up is gonna be torquing this down to 13 foot-pounds. So I've got my socket, my extension, and my torque wrench. I'm gonna slide it over top of my spark plug, and I'm gonna tighten this until I hear a click. So see how it's getting tighter? When I hear a click, that's when I stop. You hear that? That little click, that's where you stop. Take this out and do the same thing for all 3 other spark plugs. So next up is gonna be installing the ignition plugs back into the engine. So we've got 4 of them. Install them back into the same place they were. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So once you align every one of these clips up, just clip each one of them in. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So when you're putting them in, make sure that you push it down all the way, because otherwise the spark plug might not be attached to the coil. So once you have it like that, grab the little bolts that we removed before that are securing each one of these in. Now not all ignition systems are like this. So for my Honda, there's a little screw holding the coil pack down. However, there's other styles where you just have to push it down and click it in. Once you have it like that, you're essentially done. So I'm just threading this in now in by hand, grabbing my impact gun, and just zipping this on. That, guys, is how you install a set of spark plugs on your car. If you guys have any questions regarding this video, throw them down in the comment section below, and I'd be happy to help. Again, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Is it recording?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Done.